Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the People's Mirror. Today, we want to put before the mirror really the actions that are going on in Mbeere North. And before we do that, if you're joining the People's Mirror for the first time, please just hit the subscribe button so that we keep updating you on what goes on in the Kenyan political scene as it occurs. We're also an affiliate channel of the Civic Lens KE, which is our primary parent channel, so you can also interact with our contents from the Civic Lens KE, which we will also really appreciate if you subscribe. Now let's really put before the mirror what's going on in Mbeere North in a few minutes and what's going on in Malava, because these two by-elections have immense interest on both camps ahead of just now the 27th by-election and also ahead of the major elections in 2027. And so while putting them before the mirror, we will also try to briefly detail the sense of why they are really important to these two political factions ahead of those two set elections. You see, now Rigathi Gachagua has been doing something for the past 48 hours that is very interesting in this region. He has changed the new mode of doing politics and the new mode of actually seeking votes that we have not seen for quite some time coming from the principal's end. Of course, it is not new for politicians to go from door to door to seek political support. But most times you find that the politicians that go from door to door to seek political support are either the MCAs or the MPs, owing to the small nature of the populace that they have to canvass before they become elected, either as member of county assemblies or as members of parliament. Neither often do we always see someone to the level of a principal of a union like the United Opposition, or previously principals of other coalitions that have existed before like CORD, like NASA, leave their positions of hierarchy that they always serve from and do a door-to-door campaign with the electorates. So this is actually new and very interesting from the DCP party leader, who has now changed the mode of interacting with the voters from sitting on top of the cars and has now gone door to door, or is rather going door to door to speak to the people of Mbeere North and ask them to vote not on Karish, who is the candidate for the Democratic Party, but is universally the candidate of the United Opposition under their arrangement in that particular region. So why would Rigathi Gachagua choose to go door to door? Let's start our analysis from that point. Sometimes back, the government was blamed for playing foul in this area. The government was blamed for having used over 300 million in this area to sway the voters to vote for Leonard Mudende Murioki, who is a candidate rather of the UDA party. So we have seen members of the government side go to this particular region to campaign. Honorable Ruku, who is the former member of parliament for this area under the Democratic Party, but who is currently in government as a CS and within the UDA arrangement, has been said to actually be dominating this particular area, to ask this area to vote in favor of the government. But other than Ruku, we have seen other government officials, including Itumbi, who is in charge of just communications and IT's department of the State House, leaving the confines of his office and going to Mbeere North to seek the support of Mbeere North people, or to actually vote, for this gentleman called Leonard Mudende. So what we are seeing is now that when these functions of the government went with the alleged 300 million that has been said in the media spaces was used to lure voters in this area, and when Itumbi went, Itumbi was donating Sukuma Wiki and things like that for the mothers in Mbeere North. Now we are seeing a new trajectory in Mbeere North becoming door to door. So this place is hugely contested because of its political weight to both the camps. For the government department, it's not only Ruku's interest that is huge, it's also Kindiki's interest. And it would be fair that before I even delve into a deeper analysis of individual interests of this area, to also say that the current Deputy President, Honorable Kindiki Kithure, has also now set camp in this region. And I'll say that just like Gachagua, he will stay there until the 28th of this particular month, when the elections result of this particular area will be announced by the respective IBC officials. Whether he also intends to do a door-to-door particular approach of politics, we are still not sure. But one thing we know is that he's set camp, a 10-day camp in this particular area. He's gone home to focus on this particular area, delivering its win for the UDA camp. So whereas these two officials, who in a span of less than 5 years have both held the positions of the deputy president, now they are meeting at home in their own backyard in the Mount Kenya region, one of the hottestly contested regions in the Kenyan political scene, because it determines up to 30% of who becomes the president of Kenya. Now they are meeting at their own backyard and figuring this out. It puts this particular by-election at a point of so much interest for the rest of the Kenyan population. So for Kindiki Githure, the winning of this particular by-election means that he is securing his job post 2027. Winning this particular by-election will make Ruto trust Kindiki and perhaps still work with Kindiki post 2027 as a point man that can rally certain Mount Kenya votes or diffuse the Gachagua effect on Mount Kenya and deliver those votes for William Ruto. And of course, you remember from the very beginning, there were discussions that even prior to forming this particular government in 2022, the initial conversations was to actually have Kindiki as the original deputy president. But because of other political dynamics, being ability to sway the crowd and other financial reasons, Rigathi Gachagua was given that particular position, and so the mountain voted in that area. So whoever Ruto picks, because even before he picked Rigathi Gachagua, then few hardly knew Gachagua unless those who came from the mountain region. So even if he was to pick Kindiki come 2027, if Kindiki proves with this particular by-election that he can sway those votes, then Ruto can make Kindiki a national figure that the people of Mount Kenya might rally behind as the deputy candidate for 2027. And why would the people of Mount Kenya rally behind Kindiki post 2027 really? You see, right now, there are conversations for that particular position that Kindiki holds as deputy president. The ODM party is interested in that particular position that Kindiki holds as deputy president, and they have said outrightly that they are not going to settle for anything less if Ruto holds them, if not the deputy presidency position. That we have detailed in our previous episodes. Other than that, there are other interests in this region becoming the Luhya interest in this region, and as we put Malava before the lenses later on, you'll see why the Luhya interest in this particular deputy presidency is something that is key. Talks have also been made of the Northern Kenya being actively involved in the current government and might be more actively involved in the subsequent government. And so if we look at the mountain area, there are also interests of individuals that can be picked for that position. Conversations have been held that with the advancement of our conversations and being the pillar of democracy in the East and Central Africa, we might need a female deputy president. Now, if that was a card that was to be played, then the gender interest also has to be factored in this seat. All these other factors that are surrounding this seat do not put in consideration the interest of the Mount Kenya people. And so if Kindiki could be secured in that particular seat, then even if the entire mountain might not be supporting Ruto, the ones that support Ruto will feel secure with their region being represented. Of course, conversations of Mount Kenya and their region being represented have been held in different platforms, with others saying that they are already so much represented in the current arrangement, with them having over 8 members of CS positions and such like things. But in the national cake scene, these particular politicians put interest on who sits in the throne and who deputizes them, because that is the weighty positions. Mostly they really hardly put their focuses on who has the highest number of CSS, or who has the highest number of PSS, or who has the highest number of ambassadors. So this door-to-door approach is going to change the way the Mbeere people are going to vote, because most people really do not ever make it to the roadsides to listen to a politician speaking from on top of a vehicle on a rally. Now, those particular individuals that hardly get to those particular platforms have a chance to interact one-on-one with the DCP candidate and ask questions and have meals with the DCP candidate and decide for themselves whether or not they want to vote for the DP candidate in Mbeere North, or they want to vote for another candidate, being Leonard Muriuki from the government side. While this is happening, The DCP party has a by-election also in Kariobangi North, but no much of activity or the involvement is being seen in Kariobangi North, which has left certain people asking whether or not the DCP as a party are putting their priorities on the wrong end, championing for the interest of the Democratic Party, which has its own officials which could do that in that area, and forgetting their own locally in Nairobi, where they are also set to have a by-election. But in the bigger sense, really, the by-election in Mbeere North is a bigger determinant on the overall control of Rigathi Gachagua of the mountain area and the overall control of Kindiki of that area. And so it has been escalated from just Leonard Muriuki and Newton Karish to a competition between Gachagua and Kindiki. And so that competition means a lot for the DCP candidate or the DCP party leader compared to the by-election in Mbeere North, where DCP party is also going against UDA and is going against the ODM. So should they win the Mbeere North and fail the Kariobangi North one, I don't know how that is going to outplay for the party itself if you're not looking at it from the lenses of the united opposition. But if they win both of them, then that will be a good look for the party. So ladies and gentlemen, briefly of that is the putting before the mirror the effect of this door-to-door campaign that is now being witnessed in Mbeere North, as the two leaders who have both served as deputy president within this period of 5 years now meet to contest it against each other in their own backyard. That is the People's Mirror.